Hi, my name is Dylan. I'm going to show you how to set up an army for use in the MEG mod for Tabletop Simulator that is different from the armies that it comes with, right? So we've got, of course, the armies that the mod comes with. We've got our mid-Republican Romans here and some Pontics, but maybe maybe we want to use a different army, and that's fine. We're just going to get an army from another mod, right, and import those miniatures. We're going to resize them so that they match what we've got here, right, and then we'll have a new army to play with. So what I like to do is set up everything in advance of the actual game, right? So I'll set up both armies and get all the paraphernalia and everything that I want to have game added, right, to a tabletop simulator before we actually play the game. So the first thing I'm going to do actually is save this MEG folder. And let's save this game. I'm going to call this demo game. Click on save. All right, very good. Let's now go and get another game, right? We're actually going to go to the workshop again. Let's go to the DBA mod. That is a good place to find some miniatures. So I'm just going to search up here. I've just got too much stuff maybe in my workshop folder here, but let's take a look at the DBA 2.2 mod. This one is really great. It's heavily scripted. It's if you're interested in playing DBA, definitely give it a try because it is really cool. A couple gentlemen in Spain created this one. All right, here's the DBA mod. What I'm primarily going to do here is deploy an army, right? That's where I'm going to get my miniatures from. DBA mod has a handy little filter box there, so we can filter the ones with miniatures. And my example, I'm going to build the classical Indian army that I played with a couple weeks ago, right? Just as an example. So let's start with the classical Indians here. Let's load these guys up. It's going to spawn some models on the table. All right, looks pretty good. Let's see here. For a classical Indian army, of course, we need lots of archers. We need spearmen. We need some javelin guys. You have to have elephants and some chariots and maybe some cav. So we've got almost everything we need here. I'm thinking I'll use these guys for spearmen, maybe. Obviously, lots of choices for archers. I'll probably use the 3 base units, right? I think we want some nice loose tribal guys, right, for our archers. And what I need, though, I think are some javelin guys, right? So let's go and actually deploy another army and see what else we've got as far as models in here. We'll just try the Republican Indians. All right, let's spawn over here. Do I have any? Perfect. This is exactly what I want. I want some of these guys, which I'll use as my javelin men. So I'll use the 4 to a base guys as spears, and I'll use these guys in javelins. They might be the same models. I recognize a lot of the miniatures here, right? These are 3D scans of miniatures. We've got some elephants here. I think those are Zeiston elephants, maybe. We've got some chariots, right? I've got a lot of these models in my own physical Indian army, right? I think those are the Zeiston archers, maybe. Anyway, this is a good-looking army for Tabletop Simulator, definitely. And someone's done a lot of work to actually do 3D scans of all these miniatures. Okay, so let's see. I think I've got everything I need here. So I'm going to go ahead and just select all these guys. I'm just hitting the copy, Control C, right? Right click, and there's a copy there too, down here. This is actually going to allow us to copy and paste these guys across games, essentially. So go back to games, go down to the save and load, go to my MEG folder. Here's my demo game. Let's load this up. All right. It's a minute. Good. And let's now do some. I'm going to Control V to paste. And here are all of our Indian models. Giving that a minute to load everything up. Good. Here we go. Okay, so I think this is a lot like going through your own miniature collection, right, and finding the miniatures you need to build your army, and essentially rebasing them, right? In this case, we're not actually going to try to slice these guys off of here with some piece of software or something. All we really have to do is make sure that they're scaled appropriately to fit what they're fighting. So let's use the elephant. Elephants are fun. I'm just spinning them around here, and let's get one of the bases. And let's say we're going to have the Indians here, this Indian army, fight our Romans, right? Not exactly a historical matchup, but it was fun when I tried it. Let's do what we've got to do, though. So what we really have to do is scale our elephant to match these other bases. If we look here, let's look at the measuring tool. We're in centimeters, which is good. So if we do, let me click on that guy here, showing that these, and my line might be a little bit off here, but it's scaled more or less for 28 millimeter meg, I think. Right, I mean it's 6 centimeters. Don't get too hung up on the centimeters and meters measurements, I guess. 6 centimeters, let's see, so 60 millimeters. So yeah, so that's actually the right width for 28 millimeter meg. And these are probably scaled for, yep, about 4 centimeters or 40 millimeters. So that is your standard 15 millimeter DBX style or DBX size base. But we need to just scale this guy up, right, so that he matches our Romans. So just going down here to scale, up, 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 up. And let's see here how we did with that. I think maybe he's a little too big. It's fine. We'll go down here, scale him down a bit. 1, 2. Let's check this again. It's a bit fiddly. Checking this. That's almost perfect. See if we go down one more, if that's too small or just right. Let's go back up to where we were. That is just about right. So you just play with those things a little bit. There's some other scaling options here with the transform tool that you can do. It's a little more difficult to use that thing, although I think it lets you scale things without the sort of stepping way that you scale things with the option there up and down. This pretty much works fine for me. All right. So what we have to do though is scale each unit, right? Each unit type that we need. So we're going to need some elephants. We know we're going to need some cavalry. See in here, we get them to the same size. All right, cavalry. And we continue with every other type of base that we need here, right? I think he might be off slightly. Let's go up one more. Same with the archers. Take him a bit so he reaches up. Scale him up one more. All right, looking pretty good. We can take a Oh, sorry, that was me hitting the spacebar. So spacebar sends you to this default default view. I was just going to look from actually trying to get up to just right above them, kind of line them up. Again, with anything in Tabletop Simulator, I think that you have to live with a certain degree of certain lack of precision, right? You're never going to be down to the millimeter with how accurate everything is. So take a deep breath and relax. It'll be okay. Okay, so we've got a few of these guys scaled out. I would just repeat that again for every other type of troop that I need, right? And then I would copy in a unit. So in my Indian list, let's get the just to make it look official, not official, I don't know, closer to what I did, right, for my army. Let's scale up these spearmen, right? So we're doing those combined tugs for the Indian army here, where we have half spearmen and half archers, right? Let's scale him down one more. I think those guys are about perfect. It's pretty good. All right. And I did Pacto for my game, right? So obviously that's a 2-base tug, but obviously you can do any size game you want. I'm going to, I selected both of those guys. I'm hitting Control C, and I'm just going to copy and paste them, right? So Control V, Control V, Control V, Control V, 2, 3, 4, 5. I don't remember what I actually had in my army list here. I'm going to say, pretend that I had 6 of those, right? So there they all are, and I would just continue building my army that way, right? Just scaling every unit and then setting them up like that. Another thing that I do when I'm setting these up, the basic or the descriptions, right? So this is completely up to you to customize these, but I might say tribal, loose. What are they? They're probably average, experienced, bow. You can put whatever notes you want in there. And I find this is really helpful because if you do all this in advance, then you find that you don't have to look at your army list, right, all the time. Or, especially if you're a new player like I certainly am. I've only really played a couple games against actual humans of MEG, so I find this quite helpful, right? And do the same, obviously, for your spear guys. If you notice the armies that came with it, obviously that person who made the mod has kind of done that as well. Makes it really easy. And yeah, you would just progress from there. So let me show you the game that I set up kind of in its entirety. I'll show you some other aspects of that. So let's go here. Oop, I'm actually not going to do the demo one. I'm going to put this one. Kind of like on the cooking show where they, take the cake out of the oven and it's already baked. Right, let's load this up. And I'll show you some other things that I did to set up that game. Alrighty. Letting it load. This is loading actually web pages on these little tablet things. I'll tell you about those in a second. I used them for. All right. Well, this is a busy table full of junk, right? So what I've got here, I've got my Indian army all set up. I've got my Indian. I think this is my Indian army list here. Yep, that's my army list, which is a PDF file that I've imported. I've put some little labels on everybody here. I'm using these elephants as generals. Also using I used the 2-horse chariots as generals, right, in my game, along with the elephants. These are my actual tugs of elephants here, some cav, all this stuff, right? Ready to face off against this Roman army. And this has been set up for, these are pacto-sized armies, right? What I did is I used the line tool here. Yeah, actually, a box tool. I used this to draw myself a pacto-size board, right? It might look a little off in the perspective of Tabletop Simulator sometimes, but I measured that out with, how did I do that? I used that line tool, I think, and also checked it with the sticks here. Something about this stick. So if you had two armies from another game or another mod, and their bases matched, and maybe you don't want to go through resizing their bases, you can just resize your measuring sticks, right? Because it's just all about base widths and MEG. Here is a stick. Let me kind of demonstrate how I sized this for Pacto, right? I mean, it's the same principle. We're just clicking on this, scale it down, because in Pacto, essentially we're dividing the base width in half, right? So need some measuring devices that are half the size, or half the base width, right? Each of our little marks here. That's pretty good. What I did is I made two sets of those. Obviously, you can make as many sets after you do this. You can copy and paste, make all the measuring sticks you want. I imported the Pacto reference sheet, right? I'll show you how to import PDFs. That's pretty easy to do. Let's go up to Object, Components, I think Custom PDF. Just click there, and then I hit Escape, and it's prompting me to either pick a URL for the file, right? I guess if your PDF is on the internet somewhere, you could use that. I was just saving mine locally, so let's grab, I don't know, that's the Roman one, right? But we'll just use that. So it's prompting, it says upload file to Steam Cloud or load from your local disk. If you want to upload it to the cloud, usually if you're going to play against someone else so that they can see the PDF too. So click on upload here, port, and there it is. This is the one that I just created. Just rotate that guy around. We're using the Q key and the E key to rotate, right? So we rotate that. I like things to be nice and big so I can see them, so I'll scale that up. And there you go. That's importing a PDF, whether it's for your army lists or the reference sheet or your own reference sheet, however you want to do it, that's what that is for. Now, these here, the tablets, this is giving you like a little web browser to use in your game, essentially. So, again, you can get that from Objects, Components, Tools, Tablet, and you can, add as many of those as you want. I use this actually for notes, right? So every game we were taking some notes on what we did wrong, right? Or just little notes to remind us of things that maybe we forgot, right? So that's what I use that for. Let's see, what else? Over here we've got our order discs in a bag, right? You can certainly use the order discs, and that's just like a bag of order discs at your house. When we play this, there are ways in Tabletop Simulator to hide, right? There's some fog of war boxes that you can kind of set up, and you could have your disc maybe hidden in there. I don't do that when I play this, right, with my friend. What we've been doing is just keeping these things face up, right? Because we find it to be too much of a hassle to mess with either the hand, right, or the by the hand. Let me see if I can demonstrate that. So we've got a card here. Draw the card, and now that card is in my hand. Let's change that to deal to white. Oh, there it is. I'm sorry. Yeah, it's right here. For my opponent, it would show up as like a little question mark over there. So here it is in my hand. The thing is, it's hard to keep track of your cards with the generals, right? So obviously you're going to have multiple generals. Each of them will have however many cards. The hand up here doesn't, at least I haven't found a way to kind of divide or group the cards together in your hand. Hey, maybe there's a way to do that. If you know how to do it, hey, let me know, right? Because that would help us out. But so what we've been doing is we just play face up with the cards. And maybe that's because it doesn't bother us so much, maybe because we're not grand MEG strategists yet, right? So it's not irritating us to do it that way, but that is how we're doing it ourselves. Again, there are some things you can do with, let's see, boxes. There's some sort of, don't know where it is, right? There's a thing here where you can, oh, zones. I think that's what it is. Yeah, you can make like a hidden zone, which only you could see, and you could maybe divide up your cards that way, right? Have the big zone that you can make, which kind of creates a fog of war thing, so your opponent can't see what you put in there, and you can keep all your cards in there. It's a bit of a hassle, right? In my opinion, Tabletop Simulator kind of slows things down compared to playing on an actual tabletop where you can touch things with your own hands and whatnot. So I prefer that way. Anyway, there were the cards, right? Let me show you just a couple little tricks. Card tricks, right? So here are some cards. F is for flip, right? So that's what flips them over. We have 3 cards here. We will find that we often need to gather up the cards right at the end of the turn. If I hit Control G, that groups all the cards together and puts them in a nice little stack. I can flip them over, and then I can, sorry about that. Let me just select the whole stack, hold the left mouse button down, bring this over, and drop it in the deck. Oop. Okay, sometimes that doesn't work. Let me hit Control G, that'll group everything together, and now everything's back in the deck, right? Also, don't forget to shuffle, that's the R button, right? That shuffles your card deck. The R button will also shuffle shuffles the bag too. Whoops. Okay, so that was a little miniature that was on the table there. He's flown up into the air. I can see his shadow. Oh, there he goes. These things happen in Tabletop Simulator. He's just in orbit now, I guess. What I was trying to demonstrate though, is that the bag, right? You hit R to shuffle that as well. Otherwise, they will come out, like anything you put in the bag will come out of the bag in the same order that you put it in the bag, right? Or last. It's a last in, first out, right? Bag, unless you shuffle it. Over here, I've got some bags for the terrain stuff. Just remember, you can right-click on the terrain bags here, go to search, right? And then that helps you find terrain that you want. So here are some things, maybe I want some fields. I can bring this out. Here's some fields. I've got some trees here that are fun. Got a hill. There are a lot of places to get terrain pieces. Again, that DBA mod, right? Much the same way that that we got the army out of there, we could go over to the DBA mod. It has a ton of different terrain pieces with textures and everything, and that's what I did. Actually, I think this water game here, we've used this for our secure coastal flanks, right? When we have one of those. And again, I just scaled it up the same method we use for our miniatures, right? We can scale that up and down to make it the size that we need. Let me, I'm actually going to delete this because it's in the way now, just with the delete key, right? What else? Looking around the board here. This I scaled up, right? This comes with the mod, I think, down here, right? There's the PBS reference sheet. But again, I just scaled it up here so that we can, during our pre-battle stage, sometimes we use the elephant, we can go through that sequence using that. And then when we're done, we can set this to the side or we can just delete it, right? Once we have our terrain set up and everything like that. I like to, again, make things do as much prep work as possible, I guess. So when I set up the board, I set up the flank zones here to make that easy, and wrote out the numbers there for when we're rolling the dice to place terrain, that kind of thing. Everything else, don't do this with your miniatures at home, but these guys were just sort of piled them up there, right? Obviously, if you can just delete everything pretty easily if we don't need it. It's not a big deal at all, right? We can always go back and get it or add it back later. And let me see, I'm trying to think if I have any other advice for setting this up. With the cards, there are a few options, right? You can right click and draw the cards, into your hand. We do use this hand mechanic here during the pre-battle sequence, right? When you are doing that first 5 days of the battle portion of that, because that does it's more reliant on secrecy of your hand, right? So we do use it for that. And what I do with that is I will get the card that I want to play. I will flip it in my hand, and then we each put our card down, face down on the table, and simultaneously reveal, right, by flipping it again. That's just how we handle that portion. And I think that might be about it. I mean, that's all I do to set up a game of MEG. I do prefer Pacto actually in Tabletop Simulator because it is fiddly to move things around, right? And so in Pacto, you will have fewer things to move. I would kind of almost suggest trying that for your first game, just like on the tabletop version of MEG. But it's fewer things to move, and moving things takes some time, right, in Tabletop Simulator, because it can be a bit fiddly to line everything up and whatnot. Similar to the cards and everything. I don't know, everything sort of takes a little extra time. It takes us about maybe 2 hours, 2.5 hours to actually play a Pacto game in Tabletop Simulator, where it might take us, an hour and a half if we were doing that in person. One more thing about terrain here. This is something super useful, right? It's the lock mechanism. So we're moving our fields around, but after we get our terrain in the final placement, definitely want to right click, go to toggles, and lock. You can also do that by hitting the L key, and now they won't move. So I don't have to worry about accidentally selecting this, right? When I have, some miniatures in there that I want to click on, I won't accidentally pick this up. If I unlock it here, hit the L key, now it can move. And this can be a problem because, if you move it, you're moving the miniatures around and whatnot. So definitely hit the L key and lock your terrain when you've got it in place. Okay, I think that's it. I think that's everything I have to, I thought of, everything I can think of to say, let's put it that way, for setting up a game of MEG. If you have any questions, maybe let me know, and if I can help, I'll try to help. Thank you.